Preds.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
The Bears.
The Bears.
I am the great Cornholio.
We'll see what happens.
The playoffs?
See, Sean McDonough, Jay Villas. Goats.
Can you play a song? Something cool. Put my mic on!
I'm calling both games.
Oh, baby!
Are you serious?
Goes down the field for Smith. Oh, he got it!
Seattle. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mike's Madness YouTube channel video here, NFL version. It's been a long time since I've done any kind of content or anything for that matter. I think I've done like a few tweets over the summer, and the reason for that is because, I mean, other than the NBA coming back recently and the MLB coming back towards the end of the summer, there really wasn't anything going on over the summer that was related to sports, other than, of course, I mean, we had like the NFL draft in the spring, and then we had, the NBA came back, I think, like end of July, beginning of August, and that was around the same time that the MLB came back. And during that time, I was so busy with work, I just never had a chance to sit down and do a full-on just video about what was going on. And even in baseball, I mean, baseball is not really one of those sports that you can sit down and do a whole video on, especially when it was the beginning of the season. And of course, you can talk about the no fans, no this, no that. That's so, I don't know. I don't think that's really that exciting. In terms of, because baseball, I guess, is not as popular as football and basketball. So, if I was to do anything over the past few months, it would have been on the NBA. And I just never had a chance to sit down and watch a bunch of NBA games. And, it was the playoffs that started, so there were not as many games to talk about or to cover. And it would have been better it would have been easier to focus on just the few games that were happening, as opposed to MLB, where it's all of these 30 teams playing, playing five or six games a week. And it's just tough to cover all that in a little video, and enough to make it interesting. And of course, there are surprising teams, and you could talk about the Astros being bad and the Yankees not playing up to par, and some surprise teams like the Giants and the Orioles and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like if I would have gotten around to it, it would have been stuff that you wouldn't have already heard. So we're not going to talk about that today. We're focused on the NFL, because we have football today, we have one game tonight, and then we've got a full slate of games on Sunday, and we've got two Monday nighters. So we've got football back. Football is here, and earlier in the week I was not that excited about it, but the more and more I think about it, the more excited I get. And I think the reason that I'm not terribly excited about it is because it's football, but it's not really football. It won't be the same this year. We're not getting the fans that we are accustomed to. And I'm not going to say that we're not getting any fans at all, because the game tonight, as you see, between the Texans and Chiefs, and I just found this out this morning, that they're going to have 22% capacity at the stadium tonight, and it's at the Chiefs, so it's Arrowhead Stadium, which is about 16,000 fans. Now, that's nothing compared to what they usually have. That's one of the loudest stadiums in all of sports, let alone football. And it's going to be different for sure. But I think that between the game tonight and some of the games on Sunday, you're going to see a very different product. And you're going to see exactly how much of a difference just a little bit of just having a little fan, just a few fans, you're going to see the difference that it has on having, 15, 20%, 25%, as opposed to having no fans at all. It's going to make a world of difference. Like when I was watching and I'll compare it to the NBA. And when the NBA had no fans at the Orlando bubble, and then they allowed the families back in for the for the second rounds, the Eastern or the conference semifinals, the Eastern and Western Conference semifinals. When they let the families back in there, there was that element of a crowd at live sporting events that we hadn't seen since March, and it made that much more of a difference that it just added to the atmosphere just a little bit. And I think you're going to see tonight that and there were college football games last weekend that had some fans, like I think Marshall had a few thousand on hand at one of their games, and that's just a small college, not a small college, but it's not a big college football program, and they had just some fans, and it made a world of a difference because it added to an atmosphere, and you felt like you were actually watching a real sporting event and not just a scrimmage. So, like when I then on past Monday, I was watching the BYU Navy game, and they had no fans whatsoever, and it felt like I was watching a scrimmage. It didn't feel like I was watching college football. It felt like I was watching a spring scrimmage. Whereas when I was watching some of the games past weekend that had a few thousand fans, I felt like I was actually watching real sports because it was just that atmosphere of knowing that there are fans there, hearing the crowd, just a little bit made the world a world of difference. So I think you're really going to see this weekend, or especially tonight, between the Chiefs and Texans having 16,000 fans versus having no fans at some of the games this weekend. There's going to be a world of difference. It's going to feel like you're not even watching a preseason game this weekend in some of these games that don't have fans. You're going to be thinking to yourself, is this really the NFL? Is this, you're going to have questions from people that don't watch football a lot. They're going to be like, now, is this preseason? Because that's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like a scrimmage. It's not going to feel like a real NFL regular season game. So I think after the first few weeks, I think you're really going to see teams push to have some fans in the stands because it's going to make that much of a difference. It's going to make a huge difference. And I mean, I think tonight in the Chiefs game, they're going to have 16,000 fans. I think that might be the most fans at any sporting event for a while. Like, I don't even think that some of the college football games had that many fans this past weekend and the weekend before. They had they had under 10,000, I think. Again, I'm pretty sure I'm not 100% on that, but you're going to see tonight that having that atmosphere of just, it's something. It's not going to be the same as having a sold out crowd at Arrowhead Stadium, but it's going to be something. It's going to be the best thing that they could possibly do right now, and I think that is, look, it's better than nothing. And again, I think you're going to see that having this, few fans, having them at the game is going to make all the difference. And I would not be surprised if after tonight and after these first few weeks that teams start pushing for fans because it's going to make a difference. Even if it's not full capacity, you just need something. And as I kind of alluded to, making the comparison on how the Chiefs play tonight with fans and how a team like the Ravens or the Giants on Monday night, how they play without fans at their home game. Now, it's going to be tough to make the comparison because, the Chiefs and Ravens and Giants are all three very different teams. So you can't really say, oh, well, the Chiefs played well with fans and the Panthers didn't. So that means you need fans. Well, maybe who knows if the Panthers would have played well with fans. That's my point that I'm trying to make here is that it's going to be depending on the team. So I think you're going to have to take a look at tonight's game, and you have to take a look at how Kansas City plays tonight versus how they would have played if they had a packed stadium last year. And then you're going to compare that to a team like the Ravens or Giants or Panthers or the Rams on Sunday night. How do those teams play with no fans at all compared to how they play with some fans? You know what I mean? So you're going to see if the Chiefs play very similar to how they normally played, I think you're going to see more teams push for some fans. And if a team really struggles with no fans, I think no matter what, you're going to see teams push for fans. But what I'm saying is that this game tonight between the Texans and Chiefs with fans is going to be crucial, because you're going to really be able to tell how much of an effect fans at the game have. Because again, many of the games this weekend are going to have no fans whatsoever. So you're going to really see how much of an effect fans have on the game, and how much they mean to the game, and how much they mean to a team's performance. So, as I said, the Chiefs, I'm looking to see how they play tonight with having fans in the crowd. But let's not forget the whole thing that we have every year where people say, oh, are they going to be, hungover? Are they going to be too, celebrating the Super Bowl too much? Are they going to be so focused on that? They're going to, And look, if any bigwig at ESPN or CBS Sports or Fox Sports or whatever, and they ask the coach or the GM or the owner, oh, you won the Super Bowl last year. How are you going to play this year? How do you move on from that and focus on this year? And you're going to get the same answer every single year. Oh, well, that's behind us. We're moved on to this year and getting ready to be successful. Whatever. Doesn't matter. A team can still be focused and have that mindset that, oh, we won the Super Bowl last year, so we're going to do it again this year. We've seen it every year where the team wins the Super Bowl and they come back and they're terrible. They're terrible. And it has nothing to do with, at least in my opinion, I don't think it has anything to do with, them being, having that in their mind too much. They're thinking, oh, we won the Super Bowl last year, so we're good. What happens is, after a team wins the Super Bowl, one of two things happen. If a team has money and they give it all to one guy, usually the quarterback, that takes away from the money they can give to anybody else. And then you see some of that talent leave. Like, just for example, when the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2012, they gave a boatload of money to Joe Flacco, and you saw Anquan Bolden leave, Torrey Smith left, just more names that are not coming to surface right now. They all left because there was no money, or they retired, like Ray Lewis retired after that year, and so on and so forth. That, guys retired, people left because there was no money left for them, and that's what happens. Or a team has a good amount of money, like the Chiefs. They gave Mahomes a good contract, good extension, and they still kept all their key guys. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, I couldn't think of his name for a second. And then they went in the draft and drafted a really good running back from LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which I'm really interested to see how he does this season. So, and then it got Mecole Hardman. I mean, look, they won the Super Bowl, gave their quarterback money, and they kept all the other important pieces that they have on their team to make sure that they are successful in the year after. So I think that, and this kind of goes to a comment I had from Zach, said, the Texans-Chiefs game should be an interesting one tonight. We'll see if Chiefs have a Super Bowl hangover and how the Texans are going to do this year. For the Chiefs, I don't think they're going to have any kind of Super Bowl hangover or anything. I think they're going to be just as good as they were last year. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl again, but I think they're going to be at that same level of talent, and they're going to win probably just as many games as they did last year. But I think there's not going to be a Super Bowl hangover. The defining factor on how the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do is how they're affected by having that, how they're going to be affected by having no fans, or having little fans, a few thousand fans at their game compared to what they usually have. That's going to be, for me, the defining factor for all teams, including the Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't think there will be any Super Bowl hangover for the Chiefs this year. Now, I think if you look at it from the perspective that they don't have that same drive to win a Super Bowl because they didn't have one, like because last year that was what everybody was saying their big motivation was, is that, oh, we don't have a Super Bowl ring, so we got to go out and win one, especially for Mahomes. Sure, now they don't have that same motivation that, oh, well, we got to go win one because we haven't yet. But I mean, look, I think maybe that does take away from the motivation of winning one, that knowing that you have already won a championship, that you don't have that same motivation in the mindset that you don't have one. Sure, that could have an effect on how the team plays, but I don't think they will just totally give up and be a not competitive team this year. I think they're still going to win their division. They're still going to be one of the best teams in the league. But I mean, look, it's week 1. I don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, you're going to have all these kinds of crazy predictions. You're going to have the Buccaneers, the Saints, the Ravens, the Chiefs. The 49ers are going to come back and win it again. The Cowboys are always some other team that, for some reason people think are going to win the Super Bowl when they can't, they barely make the playoffs. I mean, so you're going to have all these crazy teams and predictions about who's going to win the championship this year. And look, nobody knows who's going to win the Super Bowl. There's no clear team, especially this year with all the new players and everything. Nobody knows who's going to win the Super Bowl. Nobody does. I mean, nobody has even a darn clue as to who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. There were so many moves made in the offseason. Tom Brady to the Bucks, Cam Newton to the Patriots, new quarterbacks all over the league, including rookies. I mean, come on. The only teams that stayed the same were the Chiefs, Ravens, and Saints. That's pretty much it in terms of being good. Didn't lose anybody, didn't really gain any more key pieces. Those are the 3 teams that really stay the same in as far as being talented and being able to go on a championship run. You take a look at the Patriots. They don't have Tom Brady. The Buccaneers do. Who knows if Buccaneers are going to be any good this year? Just have to wait and see. So, when people start throwing out Super Bowl predictions week 1, that's meaningless, useless talk, okay? Because nobody knows. Nobody knows at all. Nobody has a darn clue as to who's going to win the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs are going to be just as good as last year. No Super Bowl hangover there. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be an issue. So getting to tonight's game, going back to tonight's game rather, between the Chiefs and Texans. Talked a little bit about it. My pick for the game is, Chiefs were favored -9. Last I checked, I think it's 9.5 now. Whatever. My pick for the game is the Chiefs. I think they'll win by 2 touchdowns. About 14, 13 points is what I got them winning by tonight. So yeah, I'll take the Chiefs -9 tonight. So going back to just the football in general, we can't forget about the virus. Oh my goodness, if we forget about the virus, this would be the worst NFL video in the history of NFL videos. It's obviously the whole reason we're going to have limited fans, if any, at these games. So whatever, it's going to be very interesting though, not just for the fans. Let's take that out of the equation for a second, but let's look at it in terms of the season. What are they going to do with positive cases? If they're going to postpone games, what happens then with the schedule, and how that's going to affect the season schedule, as I just said, and the playoffs. And another good comment that I got, TJ from Millersville said, I'm curious as to how they're going to handle positive tests. Are they going to potentially cancel game, or if they potentially cancel games, sorry, how will that affect the schedule for the regular season and the playoffs? That's a great question, because if we're going to think that the NFL is going to handle postponing games and positive tests the way the MLB handled positive tests, we might as well just not play the NFL season, because the MLB handled it probably the worst handling of the virus than some of these governors have handled it. So, look, the MLB had positive cases, and it just went through the roof. They couldn't handle it. They couldn't, their answer was, don't play. Don't play. That was their answer. There was no, quarantining for 14 days, because, and you can say that, oh, yeah, They postponed the games and they quarantined for 14 days. No, they did not. The Miami Marlins had an outbreak of cases and they were back playing games within 7 days. So they were not quarantining for 14 days. That's impossible. And these teams had positive cases. They postponed like 3 games and then were back playing within a week. So there was no 14-day quarantine for any of these baseball teams. There was none of that. The MLB handled this really, really badly. And if the NFL is going to handle it like that, then we're probably not going to finish the season on time, if at all. And you think about baseball. Baseball is a team where you're pretty much socially distanced normally. And, they had the expanded dugouts where they had, they're socially distanced in the dugout and all that stuff. And even then, you take a look at some of these dugouts, and they're not socially distanced at all, some teams. But you think about when you're on the field, out on defense, that takes 9 guys out of the dugout, and you're playing, between first and second and short, and third, and shortstop and third. That's way more than 6 feet. You take a look at the outfield, that's way more than 6 feet. So, you don't have to worry about socially distancing in baseball too much. A little bit, but not too much, because you're pretty much socially distanced anyway. Except for when you got a runner on base, and some of them have the mask that they pull up when they're on base. That's fine, whatever. The only thing that you really have to worry about is touching the ball, and they had some measures in place where each team has their own ball or whatever. I can't tell you if that works or not. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on this virus, but you think of all those measures that they've taken and all the things that they've done to ensure the maximum distancing and the maximum measures in place, and they still had outbreaks. They still had a few teams. The Marlins, the Cardinals, the Phillies were affected. The Orioles were, any team that's, and I think the Brewers were affected too at one point, but any team that the Marlins and Cardinals played were affected. So you think about in baseball, you had all those issues, and again, that's a sport where you're pretty much socially distanced to begin with. Thinking about football, it just seems like a little bit of a nightmare. You got guys tackling each other, sweating on each other, heavily breathing. Think about when you're lined up at the line of scrimmage, you are jam-packed next to each other. Then you got, again, tackling each other, putting, all this stuff. If baseball had issues, I think football is going to have, 100 times worse than what baseball went through. And, sure, you can have all the measures in place at the facilities and all that stuff, but, if baseball had those issues with no fans and the measures in place, come on. Football is there is no doubt in my mind that we're going to run into an issue. We're going to run into some kind of outbreak within a team, within a conference, within a division. We're going to have some issue. There's no way we're going to get through an NFL season scot-free with this virus. Now, again, it depends. How are teams going to handle this? How is the NFL going to handle this? If they're going to handle it like the MLB did, we're going to have a lot of issues. Now, in terms of scheduling games or rescheduling games, I think the NFL does have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to that. And the reason being is that when you take a look at the MLB, rescheduling was a complete disaster. And well, not disaster, but it was really difficult. It must have been. And the reason I say that is because you take a look at one MLB team, one Major League Baseball team, and you think about how many games they play a week. They play about 5 or 6 games a week. If you had to reschedule one game, you have to shift their entire schedule. And when one team had an outbreak, then it affected another team, which affected another team. So, when the Marlins had their first big outbreak, that affected, I would say the Marlins, the Phillies, Yankees, Blue Jays, and Orioles, and the Nationals. I don't know if I said that or not. That is 6 teams, including the Marlins, that had to have their whole schedule reshifted. And I think the Tampa Bay Rays had, the whole league, because it's a chain effect, because every team plays pretty much every day. So, that was tough. But if they're when I think it's an inevitable thing, when the NFL has to reschedule their games, they have an advantage over the MLB in the fact that their teams play one game a week, not 5 or 6. So if they have to reschedule, I think you can do that. I think you can easily do that. And the reason I'm saying it's going to be easy is because teams have bye weeks. People seem to forget that. And I remember last year when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Miami Dolphins played, and there was I think week 1, pretty sure it was week 1, they had a weather issue where it was like really severe thunderstorms and they couldn't play. So what they did is both teams happened to have the same bye week, so they just played on the bye week, and week 1 was their bye. So I think now I'm not gonna lay it all out for you here because I don't know how it's gonna go. But if a team, I think it's again inevitable when a team has to reschedule a game. I think it is going to be easier to do so because of bye weeks. I don't think, and it's going to be easier to shuffle things around due to the fact that there's one game a week for each team, and you've got bye weeks. It's going to be so much easier to reschedule or reshuffle the schedule for the NFL than it was for the MLB. So I think that, if we have some issues with cases, I don't think we're going to have to freak out over, we're not going to have to freak out over any kind of, oh my God, we're going to have to reschedule. This is the worst thing in the world. It's going to be much easier for the NFL to reschedule games than it was for the MLB. Just plain and simple. That's how it is going to be any year. So going back to, that's my thoughts on how the virus comes into play with the NFL season this year. Thinking about rookies for the year, now that brings up a whole nother issue in the fact that the rookies this year, and there's just a few ones that I just got pictures of, they definitely did not have the same opportunity to get ready for the season as they normally would if there weren't this big virus deal. So another comment from Zach said, the performance from the rookies will be interesting as well this year. I feel like they might not be as prepared as a normal year due to the fact that there was not as much time to prepare for the season as other years. Now, while that's a very valid point, I must say this. Here's the thing about that. Sure, that's an interesting point, and that's a very valid argument and a very valid topic. But here's the deal. Playing football is these players' job right now, okay? They're getting paid to go out there and have a successful football team. Their job is to go out and win football games and be a successful team. That's their job. That's what they're getting paid for. So just because teams didn't have as many workouts, and many team, off-season training activities, OTAs, and whatever, and training camp, and just because those teams, all teams, all 32 teams, just because these teams did not have as many chances to do preseason workouts and off-season workouts, doesn't mean you can give the rookies, and this goes for any player, but I think it's very vital for the rookies' performance this year. Just because the teams didn't have as many workouts and as many opportunities to get together and get ready for the season doesn't mean you can give these rookies a free pass and for not being ready. You can't let them slack off, because if you let them slack off now and you give them a free pass now, that already gives them that notion that, oh, this isn't as important as it really is. They kind of think, okay, it gives them an excuse to not be ready, which is ridiculous. Because, look, as I said, this is their job now. They need to be ready whether there's a virus or not. Again, now this offseason, they didn't know that if there would be a season or not, as that was very kind of up in the air. But it doesn't matter. It's their job now. It's what they're getting paid for. So they had to be ready for a season, whether we were going to have one or not, or whether they thought we were going to have one or not. They can't just say, oh, well, our team's not going to have as many workouts this year, so I can just slack off and not be as ready. I don't have to really, I don't have to get ready then if my team's not going to be ready. That's ridiculous. As I said, it doesn't matter if there's a virus or no virus. These players still need to be ready. And again, this goes for all players, but this is really important for the rookies because you're going to be able to see which rookies got ready and which rookies got prepared and which ones did not. Which ones took their own job and which ones took this seriously and which did not. So if they didn't get prepared, that's on them. That's not on the NFL, that's not on their team, and that's not on this virus. That's on them. In any year, I mean, again, this goes for any year, it's your job to be ready for the NFL season. And sure, you're going to have team workouts and everything, but even other than those team workouts, you have to get ready by yourself, individually. You have to be ready. So just because there was a virus and there wasn't as many chances to get ready as a team, you as an individual still have to get ready. Because just like all of us had to find alternate ways of doing our job this summer and this spring and even into this fall, just because they're getting paid millions of dollars to play football doesn't mean that it's not their job. It is their job. That's what they're getting paid for. So just like the rest of us that had to find alternate ways of doing school or doing work, the same goes for them. They had to find alternate ways to get ready for work this year. So if they didn't go out and do workouts by themselves and get ready themselves, that's on them. That's not, as I said, not on the NFL, not on their team, and not on COVID-19. That's on them. So if they're not ready, that's their issue, not anybody else's. And this season, more than any season, you're going to be able to see and you're going to be able to tell which players took the offseason seriously and did workouts and got ready and got prepared, and which ones did not. Because they're going to come out right away. And the ones that are really, really sloppy and are playing worse than they did in college, those are the ones that really didn't take this offseason seriously. And those are the ones that didn't do much this offseason in terms of workouts and getting prepared. But the ones that come out and look better than they did in college, and they or look just as good as they did in college, because this is a whole new game for them. This is another level of difficulty for them. So the ones that came out and they look just as good as they did in college or better, those are the ones that took the offseason seriously and went and did their own workouts and got prepared. So again, this season you're gonna have a better idea this year than any other year on which rookies got ready and which rookies really took this seriously and which did not. Now, I don't have any predictions as to, which rookie's going to come out and look good, because that's difficult to predict any year. So this year especially, it's going to be very interesting, to say the least. It's going to be very, very interesting to see which rookies come out and look good and which ones come out and look really, really lousy. So, again, as I said, that's on them. It's their job. They got to find out how to be successful at it, just like the rest of us. So, I think, the performance from the rookies will be interesting. But as I said, if they're not prepared because they didn't have much time to prepare for the season as with their team, I get it. You can only do so much by yourself, and you can only prepare so much for a season by yourself. But what I'm saying is, if these players, these rookies, thought to themselves, oh, well, we're not preparing as a team, so I don't have to do as much. If we're not doing as much together as a team, then I don't have to do as much by myself as normal. That's ridiculous. If you're not doing as much as a team, you have to do more that you can on your own. Anyway, again, you have to get ready for this season any way you can. So, look, I get it. You can only do so much by yourself, and you can only prepare individually so much, but it doesn't matter. You got to get ready for the season any way you can. It doesn't matter whether or not you had as many workouts or not. You got to be ready. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, I think the rookie performance will be very interesting this year. So, Those are my thoughts on that, and we're nearing the end of the video here. But if you want to, as I gave my pick for tonight's game between the Chiefs and Texans, if you want to see my picks for the rest of the games this week, and again, I do picks against the spread. So just because I pick, the just because I picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 3.5 doesn't mean I think they're going to win the game. So, I mean, if you know what picks against the spread mean, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if not, then I pretty much just explained it to you. It's basically how much, Kansas City -9. If I pick Kansas City, that means I think Kansas City will win the game tonight by more than 9, if that makes sense. So that's what picks against the spread mean for those that don't get it, and you really should get it because it's not a difficult term at all. But anyway, I'm not going to spend time talking about picks against the spread for every single team, every single game. If you want to check out my picks against the spread, I will put them in the comment section and in the description down below. And if you had any thoughts on what I said in this video, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. That's always appreciated. And a like, and again, comment if you feel that you want to. That's fine. I don't really care. You can go ahead, leave a comment, leave a like, and again, if you like the video, like and share with all your friends and all that good stuff. And also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button while you're at it. So again, thanks for watching. If you want to check out my picks against the spread, you can check the description and the comment section. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll be back in the next video. I'm out.